Okay, gang, it's class time. We're starting again. And we are working about how the persistent vampire, which we have nourished over millennia of years. You came in on the vampire, Robert.
Where are we in the book?
We're somewhere here on the White Magic Lead-Up.
48. Yeah, 49.
950. We're in page 950. We are shaking everybody loose of their self-imposed thought form. We are lifting the great vampire that hovers over humanity, and we're freeing ourselves from illusion, from what he calls here, quote unquote, the persistent vampire which they have nourished and strengthened for millennia of years, to which white magic is the antidote, you know. That's what we're talking about. We've been talking this morning about how to recreate the creative bungling that we have done since the middle of the Atlantean era. And white magic is that very process of recreation, so that the archetype, which is Uranus, which shakes us loose from all the past, can be instituted in manifestation. White magic is a very Uranian activity too, isn't it? And when you start bringing in those thought forms that are on the archetypal level, it does really shake everything loose. And we've been talking about the destructive work of the great ones, you know, sort of their first ray, and how they are working at this form, which has been fed by humanity's evil desires, which has been fed by the Black Lodge, and which has been aided and abetted by the information coming over, not just information, the material force nature coming in from the first solar system, previous solar system. In those three ways, this great thought form, which by the way is hovering more over the Middle East and parts of Europe than any place else, interestingly enough. Yeah, go to another part of that book.
Over the Middle East?
Yeah, the dark cloud, you know. Will it break in disaster upon humanity, or will the world disciple be able to dissipate this? That's one of the big questions. And then DK says, hierarchy knows what will happen but can't say. So maybe they have something in mind, yeah.
How do they know?
He says they know. They know what will happen.
But doesn't he indicate that it's going to be there for a while, that cloud is...
Yeah, it's been there.
At least for a long time.
It's been there for a long time. We don't know what he would think about it today, but it doesn't look any better. Anyway, the work of destruction, the great ones are bringing about in four main ways. By the strength of their united thoughts and meditations. So that's like in the very first position, you know. Must be a very powerful thing. Number two, by the work of the hierarchy in training and teaching individuals, who thus break away from blind group activity and become conscious centers of force and cooperate in the work of destruction. That's kind of our role. You know, we are such individuals who break away from blind group activity, enter purposeful group activity, and become conscious centers of force and cooperators in the work of destruction. This has to be carried on mental levels, hence the needed mental polarization of the true disciple, and hence the training of disciples to meditate and work in mental matters. So all of our meditation is part of breaking the grasp of the great dweller. Helps break the grasp of the dweller. And we're being trained by the masters, and we are supposedly helping in training others. Part of our job too is to train them. We have to pass it on, right? They meditate and they teach us how to meditate by the use of certain mantrams and words which bring in interplanetary force of the fourth order. And we speculated that this meant Buddhic energy because it was of the fourth order. Just the way our solar logos is of the fourth order. And even though Venus is it a Buddhic planet or not? It's developing all kinds of Buddhic potentials at this time. It's expressing Buddhic. And so we're particularly trying to bring in Venusian force. We're told that it has an astral body which has 6 subplane activity going on, which means it's bringing in the 6th principle, which is Buddhi. So this force is then directed towards the distorted creation of the fourth creative hierarchy, the fourth human kingdom, and tends to augment the work of destruction. So beauty destroys distortion, and when you think about it, how did the Hydra die? Yeah, and it was the transcendental light of the Buddhic plane, right? So, and it was the fourth ray, because it was Mercury that helped kill the Hydra. So somehow we have to bring this Buddhic light in. It is actually the power that destroys illusion. You know, just like that mental beam of clear light destroys glamour, it's the Buddhic force that dispels illusion. Okay, so we have to somehow direct Buddhic energy towards this distorted creation, this great illusion. Much of this is carried on by the Nirmanakayas. How many orders of Nirmanakayas are there? How many do we know about? What positions are these Nirmanakayas in? We know of one group, right? We have custodians of the purpose and registrants of the purpose and custodians of the plan, right? So the registrants of the purpose are what? They are the Nirmanakayas, right? And they are positioned where? Right. And then there's another group that are positioned, they're even higher, they're positioned between Earth and the Sun. And maybe there are others as well, you know, Earth and Venus. Maybe there's some position between the planets and the Sun. Yeah, okay. Someone said here, finance the arts. I thought it was a good idea. All right. And well, apparently it would promote the Buddhic energy. Just think about the promotion of the Buddhic energy in the year 2025 and following, with the incoming of the fourth ray from its monadic aspect. And the new renaissance that we're told about will promote the Buddhic energy. These are all ways that the hierarchy is destroying this great thought form. We can participate perhaps, okay? Another way of destroying, by stimulating the egoic bodies of men so that the solar angels may carry on with greater precision and force their conflict with the lunar gods. Now, does it come as a surprise or an unusual thought that the solar angels are actually engaged in conflict with the lunar angels? Because that is how he often discusses it. There's a battle in heaven, and this is a little reflection of that battle. Oh, this is it. This is the true war in the heavens. Okay. True war in the heavens. In heaven. Between the higher mental plane, or you know, the upward pointing pentagram and the downward pointing pentagram. Lower mental plane, downward, upward mental plane, like this. So, you know, it always gets into this question is, what is the ego, what is the solar angel, what is the soul? You know, and I don't want to repeat myself too much on this, but suffice it to say, the ego is us. The ego is that part of the monad which expresses itself on the higher mental plane with the assistance of a part of the solar angels which underlie the egoic structure. The solar angels create that lotus, they substand that lotus, but as far as I can understand, the entirety of the solar angel is not therein invested. Having pervaded the entire universe with a fragment of myself, I remain. So, when I think of ego, I think of the man himself as a representative of the monad, and as much of the solar angel as has been invested in the monad's presence on the higher mental plane, which is not, as I say, I don't think it's the entirety of the solar angel. They have other things to do. And the solar angel also is a fairly Buddhic being. It has achieved, in the last solar system, at least a Buddhic polarization and maybe beyond. So anyway, we're participating.
A sacrifice on the part of the solar angel?
The sacrifice is that it has to invest an aspect of itself in the unprincipled, dense physical body of the solar logos, i.e. in the egoic lotus. The egoic lotus is still not principled as far as the solar logos is concerned. And so having achieved greatly in the last solar system, maybe almost rising off the cosmic physical plane, the solar angels have to still anchor themselves down in this lower type of matter, lower for them. Like you said, there's a lot in the causal body that's from an earlier system. But the solar angels somehow invest their redeeming energy underneath this substance, underneath and through. There's two kinds of substance in an egoic lotus. One is the Davic essence of the higher mental plane, and the other is the solar angelic essence, which is invested as geometrizing that higher mental substance. So the solar angel is a form of underlying energy substance which gives shape and form to the egoic lotus and acts as a presence within the ego. Now the ego is not the egoic lotus. The ego is the spiritual triad. And if you want to take it even farther than that, the ego is the monad itself. Because we know that the causal body is said to be the sheath of the ego. So that means the ego exists after the fourth initiation, and yet the solar angels have gone home. Ergo, the solar angels are not the ego, but they are certainly invested in the sheath of the ego, and they are basically providing that sheath for the ego. Yeah.
The solar angels are sacrificed. Isn't it that solar angels are going to get their own planet next? So
they become in their groups a planetary logos. That's what we're told. That they are breathed forth from the solar logos or a solar logos as a planetary deity in their groups. No one solar angel becomes a planetary logos. Which is kind of interesting if you think about who our planetary logos is. What is his solar angel constituency? So we start getting group beings. As we move higher up the pyramid of hierarchy, the apparently single beings are actually aggregations or unifications of a number of entities who have a unitary consciousness as a solar logos and yet remember their past. Or as a planetary logos first. Because, the chain of development goes this way. The man becomes the solar angel. I don't know how many men become one, but maybe it's just 1 to 1. The solar angels in their groups become a planetary logos. The planetary logoi in their groups become a solar logos. Or maybe it's in their groups, or I just said that by accident, but maybe it's true. The planetary logoi in their groups become solar logoi or singly. We don't know which beings arise from a single evolution or a group evolution. Both things seem to operate. Because we're told the human being goes to Sirius to become a solar angel. Sounds like a single development. But we are also definitely told that groups of solar angels are breathed forth to become planetary rays.
You said human beings go to where?
Sirius to become solar angels. But then you would say, well, the solar angel becomes a planetary logos. No, it's not. Apparently not. It's groups of the 49 groups of solar angels become the 49 planetary logoi in the 7 solar systems. I've shown you that quote before, and so I won't deviate with it right now. Anyway, we're all fighting the true war in heavens as the solar gods descend ever nearer to the physical plane. Those are the angels, I assume. And in their descent assume a steadily increasing control of the lunar natures. The thoughts and desires of men are consequently purified and refined. So it's not like we necessarily work this up only from below. Let's just say the descending solar angels are involved in the purification. Their presence is purification. And it's really interesting, the soul itself of the ego goes deeper and deeper into the head. That's kind of the analogy. We will read about it, that the influence of the ego is first on the top of the head, then on the axis center, then in the center of the head. And that depends on how much of a grip the ego has upon its instrument. The more the grip, the deeper in the head it goes, until it's in the area of the pineal gland and is basically open the third eye, which is said to be the etheric correspondence of the pineal gland. It's said to be many things, but that's one of the things it is said to be. Okay. So anyway, the more we invoke our solar angel, or that part of it, which is invested in our ego, and it basically created the ego, then the more we are purified and refined. We are subjected to fire. It's Venus. It's just Venus. Venus is fiery and purifying. And it's like calling for Venus to descend into the middle of the head.
But how does one do that? I mean, how would you go about invoking your solar angel?
Well, I think through the occult meditation that we've been taught.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that,
I thought you were literally...
Well, there probably are ways. 7th grade people know how, or they think they know how to invoke their holy guardian angel. So maybe there are mantrams to do this. There's mantrams for everything else, So maybe there are ways of doing it. I just don't know how much of the solar angel per se, i.e., the returning nirvani, I don't know how much of that angel can be directly invoked. I know our ego can be invoked, and that part of of the solar angel which is invested in us, that can be invoked.
Oh, it can be.
That can be invoked, yeah. Well, we do it all the time as we are. But the invocation is not necessarily magically specific. We don't have that yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know exactly what you were
What
talking
I meant?
about. I thought you were talking about something very specific.
I'm sure there can be. We can invoke every other kind of deva. I don't see why we should not be able to invoke the Holy Guardian Angel. On the other hand, we are also told... Help is a good word. Yes, help is a word that is sometimes heard.
Are you equating the solar angel with the guardian angel?
Guardian angel is something a little less, as I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
It's apparently a white deva that embodies, we've read it, as much of the solar angel as can be present or effective in any one incarnation.
So is it not then, because the white devas is on the astral plane, so then it would...
I'm not sure about that. Are they definitely on the astral plane?
I'm not sure, are they? But I know that the white devas, there's a group of white devas that are related to astral plane, so...
But maybe, yes, and to the waters also. But definitely he tells us about the solar angel, white devas. I'll just look it up and show you. You've seen it before, the quotation, but it doesn't hurt to white devas solar. Oopsie, it's not there. I should say, let's see, that's not it. It's not it. Okay, let's see, solar angel. Let's try white. Deva. No?
Guardian angel? What do you put?
Guardian. Solar angel guardian. Solar angel guardian. How about that? Yeah. A glimpse of the guardian angel. No, that's not it. I have it, but I don't want to go hunting guardian white.
Said that, something about that.
The white devas of the air,
And water.
from them at a certain stage in their evolution are gathered the guardian angels of the race. When in physical incarnation, each unit has a guardian angel. This is not it, but there's a place where it says embodies as much of the solar angel as possible in any one incarnation. All right, here I go. Darn it. Repulsion. Yeah, sometimes you just can't help it. Know what I mean?
What page?
Yeah.
I just can't tell you what page. I just can't help it. It's that compulsive search for the thing you'll never find.
Like you're looking for it.
Okay, I got it. Maybe. A glimpse of the guardian angel, who is the dim reflection of the angel of the presence, the solar angel, which walks with each human being from the moment of birth until death, embodying as much of the available light as man at any given moment upon the path of evolution can use and express. Interesting, and they are made of the white devas, because we see that earlier. We see the white devas and guardian angels. Come here. Okay, the white devas of the air and water reside from among them at a certain stage of evolution. At a certain stage in their evolution are gathered the guardian angels of the race. So white devas, from the white devas are gathered the guardian angels, and the guardian angels embody as much of the solar angel as can be made present at that time.
So they are air and water, so could we think...
White devas of air and water, interesting.
Yeah, so would we be...
Does that imply Buddhic and astral in that sense?
Maybe. Maybe it does. Although I'll tell you what, the white devas, I don't know, because in a way they shouldn't really be higher than the solar angels.
Yeah.
So the guardian angel, is that some entity that might give you a warning or might...
Or save you in an accident or that kind of thing. You've heard of all these kinds of miraculous things. I saw a baby just thrown under a trolley car. Did you see that on YouTube?
Yeah.
The mother just turns around and the carriage rolls. It falls down in the L tracks, and along comes the train. And then the baby is coming out with no...
Yeah, she was down there and the train didn't hit it.
Yeah, so what's that about?
And how do you call that? Yeah.
The carriage.
Totally like
The carriage is... see, so wasn't her time?
Yeah.
Amazing stuff, huh?
Oh, in the Catholic tradition, the guardian angel is such a thing that since you're a child, you live with your guardian angel. I mean, that's something that is ingrained in the culture.
Yes, but there's a truth to it, a great truth.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, it's one of the few beautiful things in the Catholic tradition, I think.
Okay, well anyway, that's on EP2 357 and whatever else it was. 913 Cosmic Fire. Okay. I have to give you again the AAB extracts, which is expanding, so. And by the way, I would strongly encourage you to become a member of the Ageless Wisdom compilation group. The compilations are growing there at a rate of 10 a week now. There's a man that is really working on it very hard.
It's a different version of having the blue books.
Yes, it's like having the blue books, only much more specific. You can look up like anything, almost anything. And we're going to keep that compilation stuff going. One thing you can't look up is 4 volumes of Fire from Heaven, but okay. We know where we can go for that, right? 9 volumes?
Is this Ananda Rao? Or?
Yeah, Anand. Anand. Yeah, he's a very interesting guy. Have any of you ever seen his picture?
No.
There's a very first-rate picture.
I've seen the ways he has created in there.
He's kind of first-rate. But can you look up these people on? You can, but I tell you what, it's more on Facebook. Well, I'll get his picture for you. It's very impressive.
You go to Google Images.
Yeah, but these are the wrong rows. Oh, sorry about that. Yes, and somewhere maybe he's on the Moria Federation pictures. Picture. Moria something.
So how do we find a compilation group on that?
Well, Ageless Wisdom compilation group. You write to Kay Hannon. I'm going to give you her address. Is there anything here called photos? Oh. Okay. Is that him? No, that's not it. Happy birthday or something. A little misleading, right? Photo gallery. Well, there they are.
Find it.
I noticed that name.
Yeah. Okay, so these are the culprits. All but one. And he's not here. This is the Rogues Gallery. By the way, you write her, Kay. She's right in the center. And she will help you get on the Ageless Wisdom compilation group. My goodness, we have some locals here, don't we?
These are all the teachers?
These are the teachers, yes. These are there's a few new ones added, and others in this room who are potential. Of course, it's a lot of work. What can I say? It is a lot of work. Oh, this is after. There's Anand. Whoa. Yeah, he's very intense. He's a Pisces. What are you going to do? With Aquarius rising, right? He thinks he's a fifth-ray soul. He could be very technical. See this depression in the forehead that sometimes goes with the fifth ray. Yeah. The Aquarius rising. Anyway, here's someone who used to exist. Well, he lost his name when he left us. All right. No, but he comes back for other purposes. Everybody has their own type of contribution. Okay. Even Facha, right, Facha? Yes, I think so. All right, so wherever we were, moving right along, as they say. So the solar angels, I like this, put out the lunar light, and the lower nature is eventually purified and transmuted. Is your solar angel the sole luminary in your microcosmic sky?
Yes.
Or are there other luminaries up there? Okay. Yours is the only, yeah, right. Well, just think of simple little words, but what it takes to make the solar angel the sole luminary in the microcosmic sky.
What else do you worship? What else do you think about?
Yeah, right. And is in you and permeating you and all that. That's the great gift of the Secret Doctrine. It's really a great book about the coming of the Lords of the Flame. In some way, that's its centerpiece, as far as I'm concerned. And humanity really needs that, because if you think about our present religions, the Lords of the Flame have been cut out. The priest has taken the place of the solar angel, and you have yourself and God. God is transcendent, you're a worm. You know, it's not a pretty picture. but God immanent, you know, that's the story we have to tell. And people will fight very hard against being elevated into a state of responsibility. You know, that's it. You know, because if you're told what you really are, then you just don't have the excuse. Let God or Jesus or someone to take care of it. So that fight is going on right now. The old Jehovistic, lunar, Jupiterian, old Jupiter religions fighting against the Venus religions that are emerging, and we're all involved in that, whether we like it or not. You know, we kind of do represent the Lords of the Flame here. We're supposed to know something about it, aren't we? You know, after all these years of trying to connect with this aspect of ourselves. Okay. In time, the solar angels blaze forth in all their glory. By the way, take a look at that plural. Because although you have one solar angel, you also have a number of solar angels that are a composite part of the one solar angel. They are mind-born. You know, it's all emanation on that level. So there's a solar angel for each petal of the adored lotus. Or they call it a Petri, you know, or an Agnishvata. So we are one and we are many. They are a group phenomenon too. Just the way the personality is a group phenomenon. So we are supplicating what? You know, one angel or many. I think if you supplicate the one, you'll get the one, you know, you'll get the one you need. Okay. So they blaze forth in all their glory through the medium of the lower nature on the physical plane, that lower nature providing fuel to the flames. So you're being consumed as dross upon the pyre. And what do they call it with the candle? These are the four wicks. The four wicks. That's what they're called. No, it's after lunch. You're committing a little idiocy. Okay. The hated dweller on the threshold thus gradually dies for lack of sustenance and disintegrates for lack of vitality, and the man is set free. This is reverse vampirism. You know, the Buddhic, he talks about that too, a higher form of spiritual vampirism. Buddhic energy drains away that which sustains the dweller on the threshold. So if we get it, you know, if we are able to lift our dweller into the light of intuition and pure reason, it has nothing left to sustain itself. But how do you keep it up there, you know? Kind of hard, especially with one hand, you know. Hey, look, Mom. One hand. It's weightlifting. I'm told that a number of the weightlifters actually are aquarians after all, you know, that they can, well, that's what Nicholas says, you know, being an aquarium. You can hold it up in the light, yeah.
Oh my God, so then, this statement right here, how does that, you know, what I was saying earlier, that, you know, the dweller is slowly drained away.
Well, it is, but I agree with that. I'm just saying it's pretty bad. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I didn't say it was bad.
Bad dweller.
But one has to learn how to access Buddhic energy.
Yes, exactly. And how do we do that?
Well, through meditation, of course.
Yes, and service and loving and, you know, and sharing.
Yeah.
But whatever way it is, from the time you're a first degree initiate, you're already getting a dose of Buddhic energy. That very first degree is the beginning of the Buddhic access. The monad descends, you don't know it, but in the soul level the monad descends and the Buddhic energy begins to build. So, but then there's this question of conscious access of Buddhic energy. That's maybe not so...
it just starts off like, you talk already about some mantra, talk about the solar angels. We mentioned before is the mantra of unification. We do talk about
that's a good one.
In other form.
Yeah.
I think just contemplating that, what that really means, saying that's the vocation of the soul.
It's a very, very Buddhic...
Life and all of this.
Bring to life.
Bring to life the
love.
I mean, that is the solar angel working in us on our behalf and gradually absorbing these things which are not it.
I can see solar angel seminars.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
SAS.
Yes.
Yes, SAS, yes. Yes.
SOS, SAS.
Offered by, among others, Sheldon. Sheldon's Solar Angel Seminars, not to exclude Helena. No? He's the Solar Angel man, I know. I'm just looking at positive futures, yeah.
It's an unusual phraseology.
Yeah.
The hated dweller. I know, yeah. We're talking about the solar angel here, and the hated dweller seems somehow inconsistent with the idea of transformation and.
Well, I think we're dealing with the law. We're dealing with the law of recalls and aspects with the law of love. You know.
Maybe just characterizing what humanity's attitude is.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. It's meant a little bit ironically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hated, that is.
Yeah, I don't think he's throwing himself into it because he even says that all this stuff that you repel is actually drawn back to you as part of the law of love, you know. Well, his language has been very strong in this section, hasn't it? It's been very colorful, very provocative.
I'm also thinking that we talk a lot about redemption, and what I'm hearing in this phrasing is there's no redemption, it just dies and goes away. And I'm wondering if there isn't some redemption.
There is a redemption. The bad patterns are destroyed, but the instrument of the soul is retained. If you think about it, what is a Maya Varupa anyway? You know, is it not all of the good that has been absorbed up into the spiritual triad and is reprojected without sin? In other words, all that you have built over the many, many millennia is right there on all the lower planes. It is sustained from above, and it's all the good stuff the personality has ever been. In a way, it's a regenerated dweller. Mm-hmm. See, so we have to differentiate between the dweller as a very disagreeable, ugly sort of thing, and a regenerated dweller as a lower instrument, which can be very useful for...
It also transfigure personality. When you go through transfiguration, it's the personality that is transfigured.
Sure, and even
great beauty.
Yeah, sure. And of course, remember that both of them can present an obstacle to the initiate trying to take the fourth degree. But beyond that point, what used to be the personality has returned completely free of the lunar vehicles. Mm-hmm. The lunar vehicles have gone back, but this thing is still here. They're walking around in bodies, they have sensitivity, they have all the kind of sentiency they ever had, except the lunar part is gone.
We should always think about this dweller, because it's a lot of elemental life in us. And we are the dwellers of the elemental lives of the solar logos, and then we have the fourth initiation, and something in us goes forth, but something in us stays back. And the same way it is about this elemental part. It is transfigured partially, but not all. The rest is about the earlier solar systemic matter, which goes back and is then done what? In one point,
it's uplifted.
Little by little.
It's changed to our particular program. Don't forget, we get our wings at the fourth initiation, right? So we get our wings, and basically the personality flies into the spiritual triad. Now, it can also fly back, via the Maya Varupa process, in and out, as it wishes, carrying none of the lunar baggage. So it's everything that the personality was meant to be, we become via a Maya Varupa. It'd be kind of interesting to do that, won't it? I mean, when the time comes, Yes, yes.
So these lunar baggage, these lunar devas, these lunar pitris, lunar lords, so we get rid of them eventually.
We do get rid of them, but they have been elevated through association with us, and they are ready to take their next step, either into the animal kingdom or as the lower, or as the lunar. They either become animals and are individualized, or they go into human beings, rising in stature, becoming the vehicles of human beings, of the future.
Of the future,
lower types. At a higher turn, yeah.
Higher turn.
Well, but not all can be going back to, or going to the animal kingdom.
No, not all. The lower ones still keep their lunar petrihood, but of a higher nature.
No, but I mean even low, because we have to remember that in our body we have all the kingdoms. The bones are from mineral kingdom, the cells from plant kingdom, and the personality is from animal kingdom. So in those bodies, the elemental lights goes back. They are still descending to mineral.
Okay, well, that would be the elemental essence that would be becoming the mineral. That would be the involution.
Right, so that's why we have like several streams in us, which is going really, really back, something which is then transformed to the kingdom, animal kingdom, and then part, which is how much of us, I don't know, the atomic essence is going with us.
Well, here is 844 that shows you the destiny of future beings, of beings. The lunar, the solar petries, Solar petries, the highest three groups will become major planetary logoi. The lower four groups will become minor planetary logoi, and not singly, but in groups. 49 groups, and how many are in the group? We don't know. And then we, the human evolution, become solar petries of another cycle, the majority. To follow any of the paths earlier enumerated, those who become solar petries, being the bulk of humanity, return to Sirius to be breathed out again into activity. And then the lunar petries to become men. They're on their way to become men. Remember how we discussed this, that they are moon evolution, but they still become individualized on our planet, whereas other types pursue individualization in a different way. Two streams are headed towards the human being, towards becoming a human being. One is rising up through the minerals and the vegetables and the animals, and the other is coming into the animal kingdom via the lunar, as a lunar petri. They will, in their higher ranks, pass directly into the animal evolution of the next cycle, and so eventually individualize. That's interesting. They don't individualize immediately. What type of animal they become, we don't know. Their three higher grades will become animal men, and the lower four will contribute to the quaternic forms of men of the next creation, which will be on a higher turn of the spiral. It's a fantastic chart talking about progression and the future. It gives a bit of stability, common sense to where things are going, so we don't leap to the galactic, whatever they are, the council, members of the Galactic Council. Okay. Yes, a thought, Glenda?
No, I was just thinking of the solar angels and how they can have their own life and evolution, but still have a part of themselves down on the higher mental plane, creating this vehicle for us.
It's the visibility of spirit.
It's almost like giving birth to a baby. You have your own life, that you've got this baby growing inside of your womb. It's a very strange concept, though, to think about.
Well, because we human beings aren't used to it. But what does it mean when a master is able, when you are becoming an outpost of a master's consciousness? Is the master in your consciousness?
Yep.
Can the master still do something on his own? Okay, so there we have it.
How about multitasking?
Absolutely. That's why more women become masters. Even though they have to have a male body to do it. Right, okay.
He's redeeming himself after years and years.
Solar angels, I hate to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Let's just see. I've got so many solar angel references here. I mean, so many people have given me the compilations and I've made my own. And it's just, but it just happens to be right there at number 1. Hey. The Pichis who form the egoic body of the human being do not alone and isolated form planetary logoi. The 49 groups of solar fires concerned in the great work are spoken of, and they become the 49 planetary logoi in connection with 7 solar systems. Okay, and then
solar system.
Exactly. In other words, 7 major planetary logoi per solar system, and groups become the logoi. So you kind of wonder who became the logoi that we're going to. And when they become the logoi, do they work their way up via globe lords and chain lords and finally scheme lords? There's a lot going on in the administration of our solar system. More than we can ever comprehend. We are, in our intelligence, we have just emerged from the animal kingdom.
Well,
and
we have not
it's only been 18 million years.
We have not even gone through that yet.
Well, in a sense, we're still animals. They consider us animals until we've taken the third initiation, at which point we become initially human. Up to then, Mars rules us. We have not overcome Mars. We're still animals. Now, how do you feel having this class being here, or we're sitting here in the animal kingdom having a nice class on cosmic fire?
Waving the tail.
The human pedigree. Yes.
We feel so superior to those other animals.
I know. But I'm sure that as we are looked upon, we look a bit microbish, you know.
Yeah.
All in proportion. What is man that thou art mindful of him? Okay.
Not to any of the years I've read, but the next sentence in that piece you had, I think 879.
You want me to return to that? I was trying to leave it alone.
What is become the 16? That's interesting.
And then it's the mystery of the 3 who become the 16, united or synthesized by the 17.
Is this 16? But 16 is related to throat center.
It is. And there are 16 potencies to the soul, and all I can think of is that, you know how DK always takes the whole number and makes it an extra unit.
16 times 3 is 48.
48. No, but what I'm trying to say is there, look.
Plus 1.
Okay, yeah, 48. Okay, yeah, 48 plus 1, that's good. That's good. 48 plus 1, possibly, eh? 48 plus 1. But here's what I want to say. The 17th is this. Egoic lotus, jewel in the lotus, 3 synthesizing petals. Now that's 4, right? Now add to that 9 normal petals, so that's 13. Add to that a mental unit, a astral permanent atom, a Buddhic permanent atom, so that's 16. 16 potencies of the soul. Take the whole shebang, you've got the 17. That's one way of deriving it. One way of deriving it.
But is it not because it talks about planetary logo and human being or humans are the throat center of the...
Well, that's what I mean. The number 16 is the throat center.
Right.
16 potencies in the throat center.
Right.
See, it's the same thing. Won't it be good to go to school with Master DK as the teacher? I mean, some of us.
Yeah.
Personally, I would like that.
Supposedly we do that at night, right?
I bet he just has assistant professors and instructors teaching us.
Yes.
He probably just comes in for the big lecture, which he does telepathically,
Could it be that our solar angel is the TA?
The TA, teaching assistant. Well, in a way I would like to go along with you, except that any solar angel is more highly developed than a master.
Okay.
That's a problem.
Okay.
That's why
Copper 879. So, as we have said, solar Petries are found in the council of the sun, whereas perfected men are only found in the council of the planet. Now that's really different in proportion. So they've been through a lot. I don't know how many initiations they took. We can take 9 in this solar system. Maybe they could only take 7 in the other. I don't know. But anyway, things are getting better.
Yeah, this is inside of this anyway, present, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, well, even the highest Daihan Shohans cannot solve it, or something like that, Then why does DK tell us about this?
The trees are spiritual.
I think he's luring us onward, At present, much of the manipulation of mental matter and its direction into forms of some kind or another emanates from lower levels and is the result of powerful desire based on physical attraction. Would you say that rules the world? Mm-hmm. And even a few disciples? Occasionally. The desire bodies and not the mental bodies of the majority of men, I don't know why I put that down. The desire bodies and not the mental bodies of the majority of men are the most powerful. Oh yes, it's because we had a class with only women in it. That's why I emphasize this. Because they all agreed there was just men that had the desire.
I don't think men would disagree with that evaluation.
No, they'd probably be proud of it.
That's changing in California.
Well, everything changes in California. So, and the desire bodies and not the mental bodies of the majority of men are the most powerful and set up such a strong vibration due to the force of 2 groups of lunar lords, astral and physical, that the third group of lunar entities who constructs the mental body are swept into a willing response. So, in other words, the mental devas have to acquiesce to the lower elementals. It's just like saying, like we said earlier, those people on Wall Street who are very, very greedy, they have a mind, but what is the mind serving? It's serving their desire body, is it not? There's so much Taurus Scorpio going on there, and the mind has to serve them. And the whole threefold lower nature is immediately engaged in the dire process of feeding the dreaded dweller. DK, he's got a lot of D's there. He's talking as if he's met this dweller, and we have not.
That's right.
I just get the feel. I get the feeling that, not I. When you look at this thing, you say it's not I. But as I told you earlier in the morning, it is possible to invoke different unsightly aspects of the dweller if you want to take the risk. Not that I would necessarily promote it. All right. Well, with that sad thought. Anyway.
But you wouldn't want to do that, would you?
Well, I think you would have to be pretty well fortified before you do that. It would be like Perseus going in to fight Medusa without a shield. See, without a very polished mind. With a very polished mind, you can fight Medusa. But without your shield, you can't look at the reflection and therefore cut off its head. See what I mean? He needed that shield, which is the...
When would invoke it? Would it come like into your dream life?
Would it come right there in your imagination?
Or would it just come immediately as an impression?
I think it would affect the imagination immediately.
Affect the imagination.
Yeah, I think you would get images immediately. Yeah. But you know what I mean? They say you have to know what the enemy is thinking. I mean, and the hierarchy does, doesn't it? It knows what the enemy is thinking. So we may not be strong enough to know what the enemy is thinking, but one day we have to look at it very objectively and say, aha, that's what they would do. And we have to know, we can't be ignorant.
Well, all you have to do is look at your life and see what you're thinking about all the time, and there it is.
Yeah, the enemy is within. Okay. All right. This direction of energy follows the line of least resistance. That, it goes down. And by the way, he always tells us the third aspect of divinity, not the second, follows the line of least resistance, and the dweller is connected with the third aspect and with the misalignment of 2 stars, which are coming from the number 3, I think. Alioth in the Great Bear, and maybe Maya or Merope in the Pleiades. They both respond to the number 3. Okay. One of the primary works of the ego, as we well know, is to impose a new rhythm upon his shadow and reflection. Now, this is kind of interesting because the word shadow usually means personality. The word reflection usually means soul. But he uses them rather interchangeably. What's the difference between a shadow and a reflection? Visually.
Well, the shadow is just where the physical body has blocked the light. The reflection actually reflects back the light and shows the detail.
Exactly, shows the detail. So you know all of the relationships within the whole of the reflected being, even though you've lost the dimension. You've lost dimension, but you still have retained the idea of the interplay. With a shadow, all you know is the general configuration with no infrastructure, no detail. Anyway, the personality is called the shadow of the monad and the soul the reflection of the monad. But sometimes he seems to use these terms interchangeably.
In the first two rules of white magic, isn't it? Solar angel collects himself, scatters not his force, but in meditation he communicates with his reflection.
Reflection. So the personality is the reflection of the soul in the shadow of the monad.
But then the next one, when the shadow hath responded.
In meditation, exactly. He uses them interchangeably. So you don't know what perspective he is looking from. It's his reflection, that's the monad shadow.
Well, if he communicates with the reflection, the soul, didn't we just learn here somewhere in these rules that the shadow responds, and it may not be the same response? I mean,
well, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into this precisely. We're going to get into these rules precisely.
Right.
So we'll take a look at what he means. It's very relative. Whether a thing is a shadow or a reflection is relative. And then he also blurs the distinction. Okay, a new rhythm has to be imposed, and when you're talking about a new rhythm, you're talking seventh ray, you're talking Uranus, you're talking the archetype. So an ego has an archetype, is an archetype, and it is imposing this upon the usual chaotic third ray rhythms of the personality. The shadow is reflection of the lower man, and it is this imposition which in time deflects energy away from man's distorted creation and brings his vibration into tune with that of his solar angels. So there's seventh ray and also fourth for attunement.
You have 70.
70, yeah. That's it, Robert. You're always going to catch that Virgo thing, you know. That moon in Virgo today, by the way. Okay. All right. So anyway, the energy usually goes to feed the dweller, but maybe it can go to feed the new pattern, which is impressed upon. Have you ever felt a new pattern impressed upon you rather than just coaxed from you?
Yeah.
Remember Dragnet? Well, yeah, just like that. Mark 7 Productions, bang, you know, out comes the sweaty arm and hits this, what do you call it? Here's the hammer and here's the... It's like that, but it's...
Chisel, but it's something different.
No, it's not.
Branding.
It's like a branding. No, it's not the animal. It is like a branding iron.
But it's a stamp. It's stamping
It's a stamp. That's it.
steel.
That's it. So Vulcan is involved, you know, the seventh ray is involved, and you're being impressed, you know. Forcefully impressed. When's the last time you felt forcefully impressed?
Yesterday.
By a higher agency. Okay, things are happening. Okay, well, force. People don't like force applied. But we're told that the first ray, remember that fifth group of political workers, that they work with the power of what? Imposition. Nobody likes it, right? Until after it's all over. Then you realize was it?
They like the result.
They like the result. They find out it was their own will after all, and they thought it was somebody else forcing them to do something. That's how I always feel. If I'm ever being forced to do anything, it's really my own will.
See, that's how Michael, that's how the United States will feel if it'll ever get over its complex about sovereignty and become part of the world.
All right, okay. Seems to be an issue there. Yeah, I'm sure that we will feel much compelled in the next 15 years. Pluto is one of those planets of compulsion, and it's going opposite the sun of the United States. And it's returning to its own position as we discussed this morning. So are we ready for this? All right. The devas, who are the sum total of energy of substance itself, care not what form they build. That's a rather amoral position, isn't it? They are the servitors of who's ever got the lamp. Right? So you rub the lamp, the genie appears, Master, command me, and it doesn't make any difference who it is, right? They are irresponsibly responsive to energy currents. That's really interesting wording. And theirs is not the problem of dealing with sources of energy. Therefore, the place of man in the cosmic plan becomes more vital and apparent when it is realized that one of his main responsibilities is the direction of energy currents from the mental plane and the creation of that which is desired on higher levels. So we must direct and they must follow. It's somehow, in some way, a kind of a relationship between the directing first-rate force of the human kingdom, masculine, and the receptive, responsive, second-rate force of the Deva kingdom in this case. In other words, it's the first ray and second ray together, basically. Master Moria pierces the darkness and in comes the light, and Master Kundalini holds it. It's the same thing. One initiates, the other responds and contains. So we have to realize that they will not save us. We have to be the one who direct according to our vision and moral capacity, so will be that which is good. Men as a whole are undergoing evolutionary development in order that they may become conscious creators of matter, and that takes us right into the white magic theme, doesn't it? That's what we are trying to become, conscious creators of matter, and also just involved with the plan, specifically with the plan. Okay, so if this involves something, and I'll have someone else read, someone who's feeling sleepy. Who feels sleepy and would like to read? Sarah! Okay. Hold on.
A realization of the archetypal plan, an understanding of the laws governing that's where we are?
Yep, right. That's good.
An understanding of the laws governing the building process of nature, a conscious process of willing creation, so that man cooperates with the ideal, works under law, and produces that which is in line with the planetary plan, and which tends to further the best interest of the race. A comprehension as to the nature of energy, and an ability to direct energy currents, to disintegrate or withdraw energy from all forms in the three worlds, an appreciation of the nature of the Devas, their constitution and place as builders, and of the words and sounds whereby they are directed and controlled.
Well, that's a lot, isn't it? If we want to become conscious creators in matter, number one, where do we think we find this archetype?
Where do we find?
A realization of the archetypal plan. Well, where is that? Yeah, well,
in Shambhala, right?
ultimately it would be there, at least on the atmic plane, at least on the monadic plane, probably finally on the logoic plane you got the 1, 2, 3 in a way. The higher mental plane will reflect that, and the lower mental plane, it is intended to reflect if the mind is held steady in the light. Then we've got atmic law governing the building processes of nature. The whole lower 5 subplanes belong to Brahma. The 6th subplane belongs to Vishnu, and the 7th belongs to Shiva. And that's why it's always Shiva and Vishnu that are esoteric. Brahma is always revealed. So 5 of our subplanes are revealed, and 2 are considered esoteric. And that goes with everything. It goes with spirilla, it goes with planes, it goes with subplanes. And probably even with hierarchies, I wouldn't be surprised. Anything from the lesser builders on down, considered exoteric, whereas the divine lives and the burning suns of desire are considered esoteric. And it also goes with ethers. We're told that the 4th ether and the 3rd ether are exoteric. But the highest 2 ethers are esoteric, whatever that means. Perhaps less accessible, which is why I was asking that question earlier this morning.
Well, that corresponds to Atma Buddhi.
It corresponds, The fourth and the third correspond to Atma Buddhi, which means that Atma Buddhi are still within the range of accessibility. But when we start getting into the monad, Surya, Vishnu, and logoic level, we're not there yet. You know, how many of us can consciously contact our monad at this time? We can go through many approaches, visualizations, and so forth, but we can hardly even be soul infused at the fourth degree. Think of that. A soul infused personality, completely soul infused at the fourth degree.
But there is something like in the morning meditation.
Yeah.
This my experience of that there is in the center of the head, that my soul was sitting there, and in the meditation, when we align with the solar angel or the soul, we are under that law, and that is about the archetypal pattern.
Yes, agreed.
So it somehow forces itself. If we just are willing to sit with that, it is forcing us to function.
Right, exactly. I mean, there is a correspondence here, if I can make it, between the pineal gland, the jewel in the top of the head center, the jewel in the lotus, and the center of the monad. Those four things all make an alignment. And that's a line of imposition. We will learn that the ego has got to make itself felt in the physical brain. It's got to have such an alignment that it passes through the mind and makes an impression in the definite physical brain. And right in the pineal gland is where that would tend to happen. From the etheric brain into the dense physical brain. And that's the only way the magical process can really work, otherwise it just doesn't get through to us. We can't do it here on the physical plane. Okay, so, and where are ideals found? Are ideals just an emotional factor? Man cooperates with the ideal, working under the law, producing with a planetary plan, the best interest of the race. Where are ideals found? What number corresponds with ideals? 6. So therefore, it's not only the emotional plane. It's the monadic plane, isn't it? Ideals are found on the monadic plane. Yeah. And look, and I want to point something out here. If we look at this, we will see that when we look at this, if we look at this, look at what it says here on the monadic plane. Kriya Shakti, materializing ideal. It's both the 6th plane and the 7th plane. It's 6 from below, 7 from above, therefore materializing 7, ideal 6.
So what in English, the idea, what does it mean to you?
It means to me the monadic...
No, don't, just in a common language.
I was just about to get very common.
When you say ideal.
Oh, what do I mean by ideal?
No,
the highest I can conceive. The most desirable form I can conceive or state. Most desirable form or state I can conceive. Because
we can say in Finnish ideal 2 ways. The ideal is that the best that something can be, or then that you are, it's some kind of emotional thing, the ideal.
Yeah.
The dream.
But how is that you see that both the archetypal and the ideals are both in the monadic plane?
There are 4 archetypal planes and they are all cosmic etheric. And the highest archetypal plane is the logoic plane. And on every other ones of the 4 descending cosmic ethers, it's the home of some form of ideal. But I'm saying that the place for the real ideal is the monadic plane and the logoic plane. Those 2.
And the place for the real archetypes are
the same thing. Archetype and ideal, to me, is the same in this case.
There's also the correlation between ideas on the 4th or Buddhic and ideal on the 6th or astral.
Sure. And from that point of view, if we say that the ideal is on the monadic plane, then we would probably say the idea is on the logoic plane, from that correlation. However, if we really want to go to where the idea is found, we're going to have to go on cosmic levels. Probably the cosmic mental plane and beyond. Probably would have to go to the cosmic monadic plane, finally. Anyway, these are just simply energy patterns that are very subtle, but are configuring all substance. It's basically an invisible, powerful, geometric pattern produced by sound. So you got to know that if we make the right sounds, we're going to produce one of those ideal patterns which is going to shape all matter below it. So the whole universe ends up being musical in some respect, based on sound and the blending, harmonious blending of sound. Probably every one of these things here. On the highest monadic level, I don't have a... I do?
I saw it in the morning.
If you saw it...
What's that his or yours?
I saw his.
I'm afraid if I hit this, I'm just going to... No, I did not have one of those. However, there is a possibility here.
That.
All these curses. Oh, you wouldn't believe what's in here. I think I'm in the wrong purse. I think it's time to buy another
Bigger, smaller one.
I have some headache pills. I have an extra battery. Yeah. I'm afraid there's no pointer. I could try this, but I think it would turn off the... That's what you saw, but there is a light here, but if I press it, I know that that's going to go off.
That's not going to be directed.
Yeah.
We can follow your line of cross.
You can?
What color was that?
Get me the Radio Shack.
It's that one right there.
You'd never come into a you have when you're holding out on it. Go to the monadic plane.
Oh, here, I have something.
That's the cosmic monadic plane. Oh, it actually is one. Have you have one too, dear? I mean, is it the real thing?
Kind of.
Good enough. Whatever it is.
This is start, right? Oh, it's good. It's good. Good. How do you turn it off?
This, but you got to do it twice because this,
Yeah.
and then that, and then that.
What a nice flashlight.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and they say telepathy doesn't work. Right. Well, anyway, a great sound comes forth, and it configures relationships harmoniously on the cosmic monadic plane, and everything below that is a result of that ultimate harmony on a plane we can only conceive of mentally but can't touch in the slightest. And when you stop to think that this plane is only a super cosmic physical plane of 6 more... Once she made all these... How far did you go with them? There was a long piece of paper, let me tell you.
Well, all through.
Yeah, she went as far as this. But beyond that, of course, maybe are 8 more levels, each, you know what I mean, in which each succeeding level becomes simply a physical plane. And it said there are 10 dimensions in cosmos. So there are obviously 10 dimensions in us. Yeah, page 1084, the 10 dimensions of cosmos, of cosmic fire. I think I have not overcome the electronic acquisition element.
I know.
Okay. All right. So comprehensive the nature of energy and ability to direct energy currents. I'll tell you one thing, the fifth ray is very important in this comprehension as to the nature of energy. I master energy, for I am energy itself, the master and the mastered are but one. By the way, you're familiar with those 7 little ray aphorisms? They're wonderful. They're so... esoteric psychology, basically, they're just wonderful, and I'll find them very quickly. Mount to the place of power. And that's great, it's not there. Okay, or rise, or let's just do it, I mastered energy. I mastered energy. These 7 aphorisms, you know these. So this is in, okay, so right here, let the 3 forms of energy, electric, pass upward, not mount, pass upward to the place of power. Let the forces of the head, the heart, and all the nether regions blend. Let the soul look out upon a world destroyed. Let the word triumphant go forth. I mastered energy, for I am energy itself. The master and the mastered are but one. These are epitomes, these are essences of the 7 ray methods of working. They're very, very
important. And which book is this?
Esoteric Psych, page 84 and 85. Psych 2, 84 and 85. Yeah. There's a little hint there for everybody from a very high point of view. Minimally the soul and maybe beyond. You know, in esoteric psychology, it's very interesting. He has a whole section on the monad, on the psychology of the monad. Only he doesn't call it that. He calls it the psychology of the blessed ones, which is absolutely the monad. There's no question about it. If you read the 5th ray blessed one, here, the blessed one came forth in ignorance. Okay. So basically, is that correct? Okay, so here's the angel of the presence guards that way. The mind reveals the angel and the door. Stand in the presence. Lift up thine eyes. Enter through that golden door. Thus will the angel, who is the shadow of the blessed one, reveal the open door. The angel too must disappear. The blessed one remains and passes through the door into the light sublime. So who is the blessed one? See, it's obvious that these are 7 monadic stanzas for 7 monadic subtypes. And of course, there's only 3 fundamental monadic types. But this will tell you even a deeper part of your psychology than your soul ray will. Somehow, each one of us is coming forth on one of these 7 according to the sub-ray that we are, or maybe according to the major monadic ray that we are. So esoteric psychology goes very deep. This book goes very deep. Yeah.
84, 85.
And this one is on 37, 38, 36.
Okay.
It's all the blessed one stuff. It's just amazing. You want to become a blessed one? You already are, right? So it's a question of atmic living and also monadic living. The blessed one.
Isn't that a wonderful thing to contemplate?
Yeah.
It really is.
He gives this beautiful thing about what the blessed ones appreciate and, what happens to them, and it really does sound blessed one. Beatific. It sounds that way. That's already in our nature. So we forget that, of course. We forget, but there we are. We are the monad. We are the saving monad on the monadic plane. Come forth as the jiva. We are that right now. So we need to be reminded of our monadic nature. We need to find a way to get rid of so many things, at least temporarily, so it can be unveiled what we are. We are the blessed one. If we can unveil the blessed one, we'll know who we are.
The blessed one is like the Christ hanging on the cross.
Right. Even
the cross of matter and all its
exactly. Descended into the 5 lower worlds. The blessed one descended into these Brahmic worlds, you might say. And that's the symbol of the cross, you could say. Okay. Wherever we are here, all right. So anyway, these are all things that if we want to master energy, if we want to do what here, become a conscious creator in matter, a white magician, these are all things we have to do. Okay. I mean, DK doesn't exactly make it sound easy. But of course, why would one want it to be easy? One wants to be realistic, one wants to know what the requirements are, and one wants to do them, that's all. And like the Buddha said, rely upon yourself. Here's a 6th degree initiate on departure into nirvana, speaking to humanity, and he's saying, rely upon yourself. That's not exactly the word of the modern evangelical church, is it? I mean, of course you do, but, there's someone there to save you. Someone has made a sacrifice. Someone has saved you. And the Buddha says, save yourself. No wonder he's not popular. It's hard, by the way, it's hard to put Buddha together with Christ in the eyes of some.
So when the Buddha says rely upon yourself,
yeah.
You're talking about the beast, the soul, then it's
it's who you are. It's who you are. Yeah, sure. But the point is, you don't need an intermediary to save you. So,
but there you go, being elevated to the level of responsibility.
Exactly. And he said, he took upon himself, he said, the Black Lodge have taken upon themselves tremendous responsibilities. That's how he voiced it. Because they've done so much wrong, they have so much to repair. Mm-hmm. If we finally accept the gift of Saturn and actually rely upon ourselves and do what we have to do, basically God helps those who help themselves, our path will be much shorter, and we will become much stronger, much more quicker. So, but people don't like work. And Master Moria promises us an eternity of labor. That's his gift. He says, you will work forever. Do you like it? He says, what's going to sustain you when you think of that? And then he tells you what will sustain you, what kind of inspiration will sustain you to work forever. Think about how heaven is conceived today.
Believing in Jesus is a lot easier.
Well, at first it is. And kids tend to believe in their parents a lot until they are said, well, you got to do something here for yourself. Okay.
Of course, we're going to stay until they find out the true story of sin.
Well, Santa Claus lives in Finland, and we know he's real. We saw a good movie.
Oh.
We did. We saw a wonderful movie about Santa Claus. It was just beautiful, about how St. Nicholas came to be.
The black and white one?
Well, no, it was
it's really
beautiful. He turns out actually to be a ordinary Finnish boy in the year 1200 or 1300, like that. And his parents die. The ice swallows them, the water swallows them, and he's apprenticed to a very surly man who is a carpenter. But in the process of it, he starts to whittle and make things, and he starts to make toys for everybody, and he redeems everybody. See, including the surly man who then acts as his father, and eventually, he starts giving away all these things every Christmas. And then he's getting older and older and older, and one day his sled just takes off. He's
wonderful.
He's gone to give things away, and next thing you know, he's flying. So his time has come. Really beautiful. It's been finished with subtitles.
Unlike a show around here.
No, except we have a special edition.
Yeah. It is wonderful.
Maybe not show it here. Show it here.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. Yeah, we could probably get it. We could probably get it off Netflix. Finish Netflix.
Well, you could do that.
Have a movie night.
It's really beautiful. It's very beautiful.
What's the title?
St. Nicholas, or it's about the story of St. Nicholas, or story of Santa Claus, something like that. He's a saintly man. He builds things for children. He just wants to give.
Is this a real Finnish myth, or is this kind of like made up?
Well,
there are the myths of how Santa Claus came into being.
Yeah.
Suppose it's made up. Where did that come from?
I like the cultural idea.
Every legend is true. That's what Moria says. Every legend is true. Yeah. Okay, so when the energy currents of the human family are directed from egoic levels only. Okay, now come on, this is your ideal. This is an ideal for you here. All right. When the energy currents of the human family are directed from egoic levels only, when desire is transmuted, and the fifth principle awakened, and finally illuminated by the sixth, i.e. Buddhi, man is illuminated by Buddhi, then and only then will the strength of the impulse emanating from the lower levels die out, and the dweller on the threshold, who now haunts the human family, likewise die. Now, whenever the word haunt is used, what planet do you think of? Very good. You didn't say Nebo. Okay. So, wilting the illusion in Buddhi and the light of pure reason, wilting the dweller, with all of its false desires, its false conceptions. You see clearly you don't want it anymore and you don't do it. That's what it is. The light of pure reason reveals things how they are, so no longer misconceiving, you no longer misdesire, and you no longer misdo. Okay. In other words, when the dense physical body of the planetary logos, composed of matter of the three worlds of human endeavor, of course, this is interesting. You see, he's just given us a hint here. The three worlds of human endeavor are usually the lower 18 subplanes. So the dense, I've often said, and I think it's true for the moment, that the dense physical body of the planetary logos is the lower 18 subplanes. The dense physical body of the solar logos is the lower 21 subplanes. So the causal body is in the dense physical body of the solar logos, but not in the dense physical body of the planetary logos. Okay. So when the dense physical body of the planetary logos is completely purified and vitalized by the force of the life flowing from etheric levels, what etheric levels? Yes, cosmic etheric levels. And when all his centers formed of human units are fully awakened, then will those centers be channels for pure force, and such an entity as the dweller will be an impossibility. In other words, we'll have such purity and magnetic geometric flow that these misconfigurations called the dweller can never achieve. Now, by the way, are you in the centers of the planetary logos, and if so, how? Are you a member of the centers of the planetary logos? Are you a member of the chakras of the planetary logos? Okay. And I would like to say.
The humanity is the fourth center of the planetary logos.
Is humanity a fourth center? It's a throat center. Yeah. But within, actually, I found it. I have often wondered whether human monads could only be members of 3 chakras of the planetary logos. It turns out they can be members of 7 chakras of the planetary logos. But what I'd like to point out to you here.
Is that our planetary logos
or any planetary logos? Any. What I'd like to point out here is if we take this down, take the analogy monad. Monads are members of the four centers of the planetary logos, which means that we're speaking of these 4 centers, which are head centers within the planetary logos. So monads are members of the head centers of the planetary logos, but as triads, these same monads are also part of chakras of the planetary logos. There will be lower chakras as well. There will be chakras found upon the Buddhic plane, and triads go to their constitution, but not monads. Monads have to stay on their own level. So there are higher centers of the planetary logos in which we participate, and also lower centers of the planetary logos, still on the cosmic etheric plane. And now, suppose we look at the higher mental plane. There are a bunch of egoic groups. They are also aggregated to form various higher mental centers of the planetary logos. So we are participating in a lot of different centers of the planetary logos and even the solar logos. And the one you really want to look for when you say, what center do I come from? You want to look at the monadic plane. In which one of these 7 centers, in this case 7 planetary logoi, but it could be on any one planet, do I belong to? And if you want to go even farther than that, on the logoic plane, there are 3 majors. So in other words, your major monadic ray, I believe, is found or will be resolved into or upon the logoic plane. The 3 major monadic types. And so you say, do I come from Brahma, Vishnu, or Shiva logoically? Whereas I may, from my sub-ray point of view, my monadic sub-ray, come in any one of these 7 centers. So basically, these 7 stanzas that we're given in esoteric psychology refer, in my view, at present, to the 7 sub-rays of the monadic ray. And they do not necessarily refer, although they could reveal the three major monadic rays. So the question is, who is it that rushes like an arrow into matter and destroys the way by which it might come? It's the first subray, because we lead from the monadic plane. How we got from the logoic plane to the monadic plane is not given. But I say, at least I think, that our real monadic nature is found on the logoic plane. And alchemy releases the volatile essence onto the logoic plane from the monadic plane. It breaks the monadic body. Alchemy releases the volatile essence from its encapsulation on the monadic plane into the logoic plane, the sea of fire, where three receptacles will be found for it, namely the three highest monadic vehicles. So you see, the monad goes everywhere, and it gets rid of one vehicle after another. It's got to go onto all of these higher planes as its own essence. And when we talk about the monad, we're just talking about that volatile essence encapsulated in a particular vehicle. That we call the monad, but it's not the real monad. The real monad is the volatile essence. And the volatile essence is what alchemy attempts to release. And ultimately, the volatile essence is the ray of the Absolute. The volatile essence is non-being in being, if you will. So we are that. We are that. Yeah, and when we talk about such thoughts, they are mental thoughts, of course, but they are inspired from a level that is beyond the soul. They are inspired from the level of being, which doesn't mean we know what we're talking about. We can say words and we may not know what we're talking about, but at least those forms of words are inspired from beyond the soul. Like we did this morning in the meditation, what thought form is inspired from the triad? And can we identify it? Such thought forms is what I'm talking about now, whether we really grasp it or not, are inspired from beyond the soul. Yeah.
How do we integrate these two views we have of the centers? We know that the humanity forms the throat center of the planetary logos, hierarchy is the heart center, Shambhala is the head center, mineral kingdom, presumably the root chakra, with the fact that on the Buddhic plane there are 7 centers composed of human egos, which are also said to be centers of the planetary logos.
Well, I don't know the answer to that question yet, but I know that every center found on any level has to be generated from a higher comparable center. So, to me, it's all generated from one of the original 7, working its way down as vortices onto the lower levels. Now, we could say that human monads are found in any one of these centers. The question is, are these 7 in any respect part of the one throat center? Or we could also ask, human beings are found in these centers, but some of those monads are members of the heart center of the logos, some of them are members of the head center of the logos, and humanity, and they're all considered human beings, they're all members of the fourth creative hierarchy. And some of the monads in these centers are members of the throat center. Can it be related to the degree of evolution of the monad itself, whether they're members of the throat center, of the logos, of the heart center, or members of the hierarchy, or head center? Could the level of evolution determine which major center of the logos they are really members of? Now, of course, you might say, are these the head, heart, throat, and all the rest? This is the head, heart, throat, whatever, in the head of the planetary logos, as far as I can understand. Like they're part of the physical brain, or the etheric brain of the planetary logos. The real higher chakras we'd have to go on higher planes to find. But it's a good question, and it needs reconciling. There must be a way to do it.
How do you see that?
That's what I'm asking.
Well, We are members of the chakras of the planetary logos. We are members, in one respect, of chakras found on the Buddhic plane. But what I want to say is that for any chakra found on the Buddhic plane, there is a chakra found on the Atmic plane, on the Logoric plane, and so forth. They don't just appear out of nowhere. They have to be a vortex from the very highest source sending the vortices forth. And I call that at the moment the head centers in the monadic plane send all of these vortices forth, and humanity is a member of all these different levels, only in different parts of himself. As a monad, he's here. As an ego or a triad, he's here. As an ego in a causal body, he's here. And man is a member of all of these. Now, how can we take these 7, of which man is apparently a member, and boil it down to the idea that he's only part of the throat center of the planetary logos? That's the question here. Because he's apparently a member of 7 centers, or even 7 centers down here. He's a member of, a heart center and throat center and head center. And how can he be a member of all of those 7 and still be only within the throat center of the planetary logos?
So if we think...
I have an idea. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. No, you have an idea. Okay.
Well, it's probably an unworthy idea.
So I was just thinking that if...
Well, not that unworthy.
Okay. Okay, go on.
No, actually.
No,
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, that's a curiosity.
If we think that our planet, Earth, is the base chakra of the solar logos, so who is actually monadically the base center, the Sanat Kumara and his group? Or is that the whole scheme?
It's the whole scheme, and Sanat Kumara is
only
the planetary logos himself in emanation.
Right. So
yeah. So basically, look, here's another one for you. It gets into philosophy. Our planet is independent of the solar logos. So the idea is that they're not. That they actually, on a high level, are emanations of the solar logos himself. In other words, why do I say that? Are chakras independent of your monad? They're not, are they? Where do they come from? Where did chakras come from? They didn't just appear by themselves, did they? They all came out of the vorticular motion of the monad. If planetary schemes are chakras, they all came out of the vorticular motion of some overlapping or overweening or supervening monad, namely the solar logos.
So if the whole scheme is the base chakra, then our 4th chain would be then the
base of the base. The base of the base.
The base.
Yes, because in every chakra there are a bunch of little chakras.
Sure. But I was thinking if that is 4th, then it would be related to heart.
Well, that's another problem because
okay.
There's a 4th from one level of counting.
Let me just think. So there would be base chakra, but in that base chakra, 4th chain would be the heart, because we are talking the development of the heart, the opening of the heart, and that's why Sanat Kumara came, and this evolution is possible. And this humanity is creating in that heart, the throat, and then in that throat we would create all the other chakras.
Okay, it's a big problem. And
not for me, it went very well.
But here, I just want to ask you this question. Who is the entity humanity? Who is the entity humanity? And where on this map is the entity humanity found?
Because it is in everywhere.
See, the entity humanity is not found on this map.
Yeah.
But if the entity humanity were pictured on this map, and the entity called the animal kingdom, and the entity called whatever kingdom, the kingdom of planetary life, maybe the place of those entities. Maybe we would have these entities could be found within one of these triangles, and certain monads would be within one, within another, within another. Maybe the human monads that are found here would be found within the entity humanity, but there are other monads, the monads of the mineral kingdom, the monads of all the lower kingdoms. Maybe they would be found in lower entities, like the whole entity of the mineral kingdom. See, so we are leaving off an order of being on this map. And maybe that would help us figure out why it is that humanity is the throat center. Maybe, it's in the allocation of the monads. And maybe, well, okay, it gets complex.
Yeah, but we could think this way, that this humanity is now the... how does he say? Does he say that the humanity as a whole
the throat center of Sanat Kumara.
Right, so I am understanding that we are talking this humanity in this time.
I don't know about that. Maybe it's just all humanity on the planet.
In this time of space also Sanat Kumara came. So could it be in that particular, the fourth chain, Sanat Kumara?
I don't know. It's a good project worthy of someone in one of the new esoteric schools to take this apart and really explain it. Do I have any volunteers? Well, that was one of the factors. Want to see gravity at work.
Can you have it for us by Sunday?
I had an idea. Not the desire to take on a responsibility. The centers on the Buddhic plane are in the context of the planetary logos coming into physical incarnations, and therefore may be related more to the etheric centers of the physical body. Mm-hmm. Whereas when we're talking about humanity being the throat center of the planetary logos, we may be talking more about the principle that's manifesting through whatever center. Mm-hmm. And one may be more form related, and one may be more related to the principles behind the form.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Principles, okay, so that is a worthy thought. Basically, you've got throat centers on every level.
Yeah. All
the way from the monadic on down, and only up here do you not have throat centers, because you've only got 3 there instead of 7. Well, you have a throat center, but I mean the other chakras in the lower 6 disappear. So maybe we do have to differentiate, as you say, between principles and forms. It's a very intricate question, but if you just accept what DK says, well, then you say, you just repeat it. But then when you actually think about it, you realize there are problems in making it really work, like you brought up. We need bigger maps, better maps, and we need to put other entities on these maps. For instance, the beings who are the kingdoms of nature are not put on these maps. In other words, if you turn to 844, you see all these different beings. The chain lords are not on these maps. The globe lords are not on these maps. But they are on that thing on 844. So if we had the real map that showed what's a part of what's a part of what, then maybe we could make that make sense. Yeah.
Michael, just for me, if we say, or does DK say, humanity functions as the throat center? Because we are the activity aspects.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that would make perfect sense to me, that this humanity as a whole has that function. Not so much for the individual moments.
Okay. We've got a bunch of...
ways of reconciling.
Well, we know the hint is working out in the consciousness of humanity as a whole. The reason for this is that the perfected personality of Sanat Kumara, focused at present in his creative throat center humanity, is reverberating to the orchestral effect. Okay.
You got the creative throat center.
Creative throat center of humanity. Yes, creative.
Whereas the hierarchy functions as a heart as a whole, as a heart center.
Yes. But some of humanity is in the hierarchies. I mean, some of the fourth creative hierarchy is in what we call the spiritual hierarchy of the planet. Now, here's another one. Through the human throat center, the third ray, okay. For instance, humanity as the planetary throat center is under the constant influence of the seventh ray, as is the solar plexus. And elsewhere he talks about humanity in relation to the solar plexus center. So maybe he's dividing categories of humanity. Look, different monads in the fourth creative hierarchy, this is tricky but interesting, are in different centers. Is a mineral a man? Well, where did we come from? Is an animal, is a vegetable a man? Is an animal a man? Yes. And is a man a man? Is a soul a man? In a way. Is a Chohan a member of the fourth creative hierarchy?
No.
Well, what we have, they are no longer men as are the monads. But Master Serapis and Master Jesus, if they're not a member of the fourth creative hierarchy, they're not a member of the human kingdom. They're not a member of the kingdom of souls. They're planetary lives. But are they still members of the fourth creative hierarchy? See, that's tricky. They could be. So here's the point. When you've got these monads that are scattered through all the different kingdoms, and they're essentially the monad of man, is it possible that the majority of what we call men now in the fourth creative hierarchy are in fact, the throat center of this being? Majority. But other monads could be scattered in different ones. Could be. Now, I don't want to bring up the problems that exist with that theory. There are still problems.
I was thinking that maybe the majority of the human monads are now in the throat center, but that doesn't mean all the monads.
No. And the question is, does it have to do with the ray? In other words, is it possible that monads on any ray could be in the throat center? Yes. That monads of any ray could be in the heart center? Yes. Look, the heart of hierarchy, known as hierarchy, is not consisting just of second ray monads. All kinds of monads are in the heart. It's a question of the degree of evolution of the monad.
And their function, I think.
Well, sure, their function depends on what center they find themselves in, and what center they find themselves in depends on their degree of evolution.
But what about if it is related to the change, so that those who came from Moonchain would be a part of...
Throat center?
Would they be the throat center?
Well,
it would be related, like I have been born as a Finnish person, and I can go wherever, but I'm still Finnish in this incarnation. You are American, so whatever. So could that be like that when we're born to that particular chain, we keep that grouping or coloring or functioning? Even though we would function in different areas, but still it is like the background thing what connects us.
Well, taking the big point of view here, what are we really getting into when we discuss this? We're getting into how the structure of our planet and solar system are conceived by the hierarchy itself and by the members of the Department of Karma. We're getting into the anatomy of our whole solar system and planet and the physiology of it and the interactivity of it. We're getting into the different categories which DK has hardly even mentioned because they would be too complex. You've got to infer them. If he lays all that information out, you're just going to be overwhelmed. But if you reach the point in your mind when you begin to see the necessity for something he hasn't said as being real, then you can venture into these particular areas. After all, what are those 7 circles on the monadic plane? And why are they only on the cosmic monadic plane? You see what I'm saying? In other words, if they are up here, and he has not drawn them for us on the systemic monadic plane, he's a planetary logo. If he has not drawn the large circles, can we not assume that there are large circles down here which are containing also the monads of men. Here they're triangular, but I look at the circle as a more complete thing. In other words, inference. You go so far in your thinking, something's missing. DK hasn't said it. Does that mean it doesn't exist? No. You extend your you extend your thought into that which is not yet stated as existing, and you find out for yourself that it exists. Just like happened with Alice Bailey. She was reading those books, or not reading the books, DK was dictating, and he was saying one thing, and all of a sudden, this huge vista of what he didn't say appeared before her eyes. She describes that. Vistas as yet undreamt. I could hardly conceive, what appeared to me while he was dictating cosmic fire. And it's the same for us. He can't say everything. He just can't.
But what was your point? I didn't get your point in this.
The point is if something's above, it's very likely to be also below, even if it's not depicted below. Okay. So in other words, you analogize forth between cosmic and systemic planes, and some things are only put up there on cosmic planes. Some things are only put here on the systemic plane. But you go back and forth, filling in the blanks by inference and by analogy.
But we know that all of the rays there have also the 7 sub-rays underneath that, and it is the same thing that we have here, the circle. Or what is the point?
I would want to look at why these are circles and why these are triangles. But look, we've been told there are only 3 monadic rays. Then we've been told there are 7 monadic rays. So how are you going to reconcile that? And there is a way to reconcile that, but it's up to you to do it, because he does not reconcile it for us. Okay, our subject is white magic, and I think if we actually use the rules, we have a chance of getting there. Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe after a break?
Or you can give a break. Let's see, it's 12 minutes after 4. Let's see, how long have we been there?
1 hour and 45 minutes.
Wait a second. You are correct. We will have a break. A break.
But the rules are actually like 40 pages long.
We're going to skip a little.
Oh.
You don't have to worry. You're not going to have to. This is just a warm up. You don't have to slog your way through this. Okay. Yes.